G'day, welcome back to the 40 channel. Well, I tell you what, here in Australia, winter has certainly hit. So we got snow 2 days ago, it's been bitter cold. So it'll be good, spend a bit of time in the shed. The workbench is a bit cluttered, but that's okay because I know where everything is and I'm the only one that needs to know where it all is. We really need to finish this front end off. It's taken ages, I haven't had much time to get onto it, our days are shorter, it's colder, and I'm just making excuses. That's all it comes down to, because I could be working in the shed and pumping it out. So what we're going to do, we're going to get our tie rods, we'll replace all the tie rod ends, and of course all new relay rod and tie rod ends from Online Auto Parts. So we'll check out what we've got, let's put it all together, get it back on the car. We're also going to make sure we get all the measurements right. We're going to measure it all up so we get our toe in and we get it all perfect so we don't get too much tyre wear or any crazy vibration coming up through the ute as well. Let's start getting into it. Righto, so what I did, we just cleaned up all our rods because they were all a little bit pitted, a little bit rusty. No major damage, they're not bent, they're all in good condition. I actually left all the old ends on and we just sandblasted them all to make it quick and easy to clean up. I knew that these were pretty much shagged. They're really solid, they're quite worn out, and none of them had their little dust boots on them, so who knows what's got inside here as far as sand, dirt, and all that other rubbish. You can see that that's really tight, and it's not worth trusting anymore. New box opening time. Let's have a look what we've got. So all new components. New grease nipples, split pin, castle nut. So we're getting all new equipment, dust boots, and they're already all painted up nice and black. So the other one, possibly savable, but not trustworthy. It's been quite knocked around. You can see that this has been quite dented from previous times of being pulled on and off. Who knows why, but it has been. So time to replace this one. A left-hand thread and a right-hand thread. And if you have a look at this shaft here, very carefully, we've got a little L. Left-hand thread. How easy is that? So it's the old lefty-loosey, righty-tighty. Doesn't apply with this one. I often hear my kids saying that, catching them out. It's pretty funny. Take the old one out, and we'll put the new one back in. It's like retraining your brain to undo, to do something up. Righto, so we want to measure the distance between the two endpoints. And this will give us a rough setup. So we want to be 1205 millimeters. Easy way to do this, you want to go from center to center. Put your castle nut, put your tape measure, bring it along, and check the center of the other end. 1205 millimeters. That way, when we go on, we've got less adjustment to do getting the toe in. Just grab your tie rod. Depending on what part of the world you're from, will depend on where you put your connector rod. Next thing we need to do is set it so it's toe in. So basically the two front tyres are sort of just facing into each other. We only want that to be about 3 to 5 mil. So all I'm going to do is just measure from this face across to the other face on the front and the back and work out 3 to 5 mil difference. Then we just spin our tie rod and that'll twist it in and out. It's fairly easy really. So we're 10 mil difference. So all we need to do is just bring it in 5mm and we're good. So all I'm going to do is just grab this. As you can see, by turning this, it's pushing it out. We'll measure the back again, and the back is 133. So we're actually toe in 3mm. We'll leave it at that. Perfect. Righto, so we've actually set it up so it's toe in about 3mm. I'm pretty happy with that. All we need to do now is lock off our threads and we're done. The cool thing about the steering arm is that I was obviously chasing a new one because this one was agriculturally repaired and destroyed. It's pretty much the only thing that's had a major bit of a damage on this fire truck. That's the original. Normally you're trying to chase up old spares like this and it's quite difficult, especially when you start looking for new bushes and stuff inside. But not only was I able to find one, but I was able to find two. So I was able to find this one, which I chased up, and it came in the big giant box from Perth. And then another guy contacted me and said, "Hey Jace, I've got another one, do you want it?" I said, "Yes, absolutely." So I bought this one off him as well. And the great thing is, now that we have basically two full steering arm setups, plus another third broken one, we're able to knock out all the bushes, and then we're able to measure up. I got my verniers and we measured up every single bush to see which ones were in the best condition, and then out of that we've got a match set. So these two particular bushes here are in actually fantastic condition, both from different ones. Now what I found was obviously the bottom bush was worn more than the top bush, so I was able to get two of the top bushes out of two of them, find two of them that measured up pretty much spot on. Finding replacement parts like this is becoming extremely difficult for such an old vehicle, especially with a steering setup like this. The great thing is now we'll be able to rebuild the whole steering arm with the best components we have, and some of them are pretty much on spec to original, so how good is that? Righto, our relay rod. So I've just screwed in both ends. Now we need to have this at 827mm. So one facing up, one facing in. Measure from center to center as we did before. That one's ready to go back on the vehicle as well. So the beauty is we're able to restore or save or make up new parts for the fire truck steering component. The felt seal, it's gone on really hard, crusty, it's no good. Now if I had a bit of felt we could make one. But what I've used is some closed cell foam. Now this stuff is awesome. I've used it on a whole lot of different things. It's fantastic. It won't absorb the water. It'll keep the dust out, keep the grease in. So we made up a new seal. And that seal will go in this little cap, which will go on the end of the steering arm here. So it's pretty cool. It's all come together. Ready to put the steering arm all back together. Put it back on the fire truck. We've got our brass bushes here. So we'll push them back in. We'll grease everything up as we go. Righto, to put our brass bushes in, we do exactly the same thing as putting bearings in. We've taken one of the old brass bushes, well, the more damaged and unusable brass bush, just cut a slit in it with a grinder, our copper hammer, or you can use a dead blow hammer. That way we can drop it in and tap it in. Righto, so we're able to save this retainer ring with our new seal that we've made. Place that on. It sits over with the new seal in it, and that actually presses down and seals up quite nicely on the inside there. So we'll go put this on the vehicle. Just make sure that's nice and clean in there, because we have this taper and that taper slides straight up into that shaft. We want to make sure that's nice and centered. We're going to get a bit of a tap up with a copper hammer. Gives us a bit of chance to our washer and our nut. So I've done this up pretty tight, really tight actually, and I've made it so this here is just moving, so it's just biting down on our lip seal here. Righto, I'm going to call it a night. It's pretty dark, it's getting late, and I'm getting hungry, so I think we'll finish this off tomorrow. Righto, it's a new morning. First thing, fire up the heater in the shed. Righto, let's get this steering arm all back on, and then that'll pretty much be it, I think. Alright, so we've got the O-ring, we've got our 2 woodruff keys, a spring, our last cone, the keyways in it to hold it in place, and our seal. Now, we're just going to pack this full of grease. The grease will also hold the little woodruff keys in, the O-ring in, and we'll bolt it all together. Alright, we've just got our O-ring. We've got an O-ring groove just inside here. Just going to pop that O-ring in. Okay, you can just see that O-ring in there now. I'm going to rub some grease all around in here. The Molytac grease from Chem Tools. Well, we'll just put some grease right where those little woodruff keys go. We'll also run a little bit around that top piece there. We've already got a stack inside the arm already, but it's good to get his grease all over this, and then we'll pump it full of grease as well when we're finished. Right, our little woodruff key, that just goes right in that slot there. Push it in, the grease will hold it in place. Right, I take note that this keyway, this woodruff key, is directly in line with your hole. Now, what I should have done is I should have assembled all this before I put it onto here. That would have been a smarter thing to do, but I didn't, so I've chosen the difficult way of doing it. So now we slide up this, and we need to get them in line with those keys. Okay, once you've got that up in place without letting it fall down, spring on, a retainer cup which pushes up inside over that O-ring. Tricky part is holding all this together while we get that bottom bracket on. Drop some bolts through on the top. Keep it aligned. Righto, so that's it. We've got the front end completely done. Happy days. So again guys, thanks for your support. Make sure you give me a thumbs up. Feel free to leave a comment and make sure you subscribe. Alright, until next time, take care of yourselves.